Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time of day you've taken to join us. I thank you. I'm your host, Adam Gerard, and welcome to another episode of A Word with Adam. My guest again in this first ever two-part is Josh Armour. Josh,
We're
welcome
back for more. Back for more.
Now let's jump straight into it.
Yes.
When we last left you, you had been a wrestler for about a year, and you were like, nah, I'm shit.
I must stress, a trainee.
A trainee.
Definitely was not on.
You're one of the young boys. You're still a young boy.
Basically, yes.
So you've been there for about a year, and you've gone, nah, I'm no good at this. I don't. Athletics and me, I'm out.
No go.
Happen. So what? So you said from there the goal then became commentary and interviewing and things like that.
Yeah.
Let's get more in depth into that. So how's that come about? How do you get into the commentary and the announcing and all the rest of it?
Well, that was, I guess, as I sort of mentioned quickly in part one, where through necessity of needing somebody on the night or the night before, knowing that tomorrow we've got a vacancy at the desk. Hey, Josh, do you want to do it? So, bang, I'm all in. And it just sort of went from there. Had a lot of commentary partners come and go.
That's what happened.
Yeah, over time. Sometimes it'd be even a case where, gee, we need someone for Josh. Well, who's injured? You know, and so like a Brad Smythe or a Luke Santa Maria or somebody like that would come onto the desk, and then they could at least be a part of the show. Yeah. Well, I guess your voice still there. Yeah. Still CM Punk special. And it's somebody bounce off of, you know, because exactly. I've done a couple of shows where I was on my own, and man, it's tough. Yeah, I have so much respect for Joey Styles being able to do 3-hour ECW pay-per-views, just sitting there by himself with nobody to even make a joke off of. Yeah. Because you really need that somebody to bounce off of, and when, especially like Todd Eastman was brilliant when he joined the team, because he was sort of, I guess, similar to me in that the in-ring wasn't going to happen, but there's all these other great things that he can contribute, and now whether it's been as a booker, as a writer, I guess, of the angles and storylines, and really, I mean, he's so switched on when it comes to that, as in, if something was going to be written or orchestrated, or there was an idea put in place, it was like, okay, it's January, where are we going to be in December? Yep. Where is this character going? So you have to look at it. You have to know how to evolve. Your storylines and your characters, they need to constantly evolve. Yep. They need to, or else you don't go anywhere. If you haven't seen it at home, look up. There's a Max Landis film called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling. That's amazing, isn't it? Oh. And it's the story of Triple H over the last, it's nearly 20 years now. Things all made sense after watching that, didn't they? And you look at it, because you don't realise as you're watching it that his character has just evolved and morphed so much, but still had that same core principle throughout it. Yeah. And that's where, obviously, Todd has that same brain where he goes, okay, well, if you want to end here and you got to start here, well, you got to have this underneath you all the time, but you got to be like Madonna and evolve and change. It's like we talked about with Chris Jericho. You know, you got to constantly break the mold on yourself. Yeah, and so when Todd joined the commentary desk, that was awesome, because he's been a wrestling fan for even longer. He's a little older, but way longer. So he was doing the tape trading and all that sort of thing. And when the Wrestle Right event happened in Adelaide at the Thebby in 93 or 94. I mean, I was there, but I was just there to see the Big Boss Man and Demolition Smash and Hawk from the Road Warriors, Jake the Snake Roberts, Junkyard Dog, Don Morocco, whereas Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit were on that card. I didn't even know who they were back then, but Toddy knew who they were, see, through Japan and watching these tapes and all these different things. So he's got such a diverse mind for wrestling. I think that's why he's so good at the creative and managing as well, because he knows when to do things, when not to do things, and when to do the things that are going to matter and really get a pop, but not just from the crowd. I guess really help tell the story of his wrestler, whether it was Chris Basso or Brooksy or anyone like that. Now Alex Shepard in Queensland. Yep. Who's a great young talent, cool bloke he is as well. So I've had lots of partners at the commentary desk. You got a preferred one? I'd say Todd. He explains why you like host podcasts with him. Just because we had that chemistry of, like, for a while there I did turn heel as general manager, JD Armour. It's not Josh, it's JD, get it right. because of course I had to shorten.
Gotta
You had
be
to make.
prick.
I had to sound like a douche.
Yeah.
So what more douchey a name than JD? You know, like wearing the
Works
scarf.
perfectly.
So Sam, if you're watching, the scarf's back for one day only, baby. Enjoy it. So even then, when and I'm not as quick-witted, say, as Todd with the one-liners and being a smart-ass. You know, he's just so quick when it comes to that. And even he'll say, well, it's because I'm a bit of a dick in real life, so it's just natural, you know? But he's just so good at that. So even when I was playing the heel role, the Jesse Ventura, so to speak, but wasn't as quick-witted, he would still be able to use his wit, you see, and kind of, I guess, put it back on me, so the fans could have a laugh with him at my expense.
Yep.
So it still worked, you know what I mean? And now we have at Riot City Wrestling Sean Fuster, who is, I mean, he plays, I guess, the backstage journalist as well, but he is an actual journalist who writes for the Advertiser and whatnot. So chief court reporter. So he's got a great vocabulary, you know, he's well spoken.
He's got the integrity for him.
Yeah.
The journalistic integrity.
Legitimate integrity, and that people can believe in. I guess with me at the moment as the voice of Riot City and being around for so long, very important is for the fans to at least trust the mouthpieces of the company.
Oh,
which in
absolutely,
cases, you know, when we're out there commentating or announcing, it's me, Sean, and Wolfdog, and then of course General Manager Tom at the moment, Tom Byrne. So I think it's really important that you have those figures there that people can trust. I mean, I guess that's why, like, you look at AFL, Australian Rules Football commentary and broadcasting, the people that have stayed the course are people like Bruce McAvaney and Dennis Committee, because there is this level of trust with the viewer and with listening to them.
Well, you know when you hear that voice that they're giving you an unbiased but balanced opinion because they've seen it.
Yep.
They've seen it. Now, if I can just interject, we'll bring it into as I like to do. You know, I like to Tarantino my interviews for breaking the timeline. You mentioned Wolfie.
Yep.
Okay, we saw the Riot City Rumble, which you were hyping in the last episode. Has happened now.
It has, yes.
Did you know Wolfie was in it?
I knew, but at the same time I thought, this is just I thought this is a cover for somebody else that's going to come out, you know what I mean, be the big surprise of the night. And I sort of looked up and Wolfdog's standing up, so what's he say? Oh, geez, it is happening, you know? So, yeah, it was cool to see him just back out there for our fans now, because he hasn't wrestled in Riot City, I don't think, geez, even if he did years and years and years ago, a decade ago. I
personally have never seen him wrestle.
Yeah, our current fan base at least haven't seen that. So that was a cool little treat, even for a few seconds, Wolfie. It was cool.
Yeah, Wolfie, come on, man. Look, so I've called you out on Facebook about this. You got to dust them pants off more often for me, man. Those were amazing.
The old black and red PVC. Look,
no, some of the best. I'm shooting from the hip here, man. Legitimately, those are some of the best pants I've ever seen in wrestling.
Oh, if you're gonna do it in style, man.
Oh, they're just. Anyway, moving on. So, the Riot City Rumble.
Yeah.
What's the mindset you get in for your commentary now, as opposed to back when? We'll go back to what it was like when you were first starting out, but now obviously much more seasoned. So you got to go in there. So it must be second nature to walk out, get the microphone, interact with the crowd, sit down and call the matches. Is there a confidence that's grown over the last, what is it, 6 years?
Yeah, 6.5 odd years. There definitely is a confidence, but then you have nights like the other night at the Rumble where having Raka Raka as part of our event later on, doing the big Ronald McDonald WWE Beatdown Part 3, which was freaking insane. Knowing that we'd have a bigger crowd and that the Rumble's kind of one of those marquee things when you tell people, hey, we're having a Rumble, come on to the show, and then you do have those mates that kind of pass on it and go, yeah, all right, I'll go to this one. Yeah. That's when you know, like, all right, we've got to bring it. Because we're going to have all these new fans there, or returning fans, or people that didn't even know there was wrestling in Adelaide, but they've seen... a chance
to make new fans.
That's it. They've seen, there's a Rumble on. Well, bugger it, we'll check that out, you know. So, there's still... Actually, it's funny, because Nick Armstrong asked me this before the show the other night. He's like, do you still get nervous? I was like, well... Like, I do. Like, that day in particular, it was in my head all night, all day of, gee, it's going to be a big night, like, hope it goes well. And, of course, by the time the music hits and we walk out that curtain and get everyone to make a bit of noise, and then they make that noise. It's like, all right,
Well,
we're back home now, you know.
They were pretty rowdy for you that night.
Oh yeah, they were right into it, and I guess like I used to take a lot more notes because I'd be so, especially if it was only me or somebody else, you know, I'd be making sure that we had all bases covered. That if there isn't some kind of air that we can fill here, or rather, make sure there was air we can fill. So I'd have these little backup notes of things that. You know,
tidbits in case there's awkward silences.
Yeah,
like
grab
that.
a headlock and then it's like, right, well, da.
You know, this guy's been hitting the gym for 6 days preparing for this shit. You understand he's been cutting out all carbs, that sort of commentary.
Just different, just stuff, yeah. To, you know.
Filler, at least character building filler as opposed to just, you see the way he's locking in that headlock? Yep. Yeah, it's tight.
Which I fall back on sometimes because I guess as the real play-by-play component of the team. That's my gig. So these days it's a lot easier because having the three of us at the desk as well, you've got the balance. So you got me that can sit there and call the moves. You got Sean who can really get into the storytelling and do just a bloody good job at it. He's brilliant. And you got Wolfie who can be that little instigator.
He's the great color commentator.
And also because he's been around longer than even me and Sean.
Yeah.
If there's older guys that are in, or if there's a match happening that hasn't happened in 10 years, he can recall that information and actually tell that bit of the story as well. So it really helps. I mean, these days I don't take a lot of notes just because I'm confident with the stories and with who the wrestlers are. And then, but before a show, every show I will ask for. Obviously, if I don't have their announcing details, I'll ask the wrestlers.
Height, weight.
What's your weight? What do you build as? We do it in kilos, or at least I do it in kilos because it's bloody Australia. We don't use pounds, so I just go with the kilos. Plus in the UK, I noticed that they go by like stone and pound, that sort of thing.
The height seems to be the one thing you always do in feet because it sounds bigger.
Yeah. And
then the weight should always be like, I don't know, like poundage here, it just sounds big because you go 500 pounds, you're like, is that a lot? Must be.
I've actually stopped announcing heights now just because of the fact that you want guys that go out there and want to be billed as 7 foot tall, and you look at them like, you're fucking 6'4", man. Like,
come on, bro.
How can I?
Yeah, you're 7 foot fighting a dude who is billed at 6'2".
Yep.
And you're looking eye to eye, like.
Yep. And again, even though like we've talked about that, like it's not about the announcers, it's not about the commentators.
But we've got to know how to make them look good.
Exactly, and if we are, how do I put it? Like, if you're 6'4", 6'3", and you want me to call you, bill you as 7 foot, if someone calls bullshit, I'm losing that trust of that fan.
You lose your credibility.
Goes back to that, right? As the mouthpiece of the organisation.
But if you give him some sort of nickname like the Towering Giant, or
Yeah. When he's in there with the guy that's 5'7", he will be a fucking a giant. Yeah, it's like with Matt Basso is now because he's a goddamn giant. No matter who he's in there against, except maybe a Kurt Barron or an Elliot Sexton, they're really on the same sort of par as far as their size. But you got to keep that bit of that credibility as an announcer as well.
Yes.
So so heights I've kind of stopped doing, but as far as the weights, there's that sort of thing. So I'll get those details, but with every match on the card, I'll go around to either both people in the match or the more senior guy that's in that match and say, right. Basically ask, what have you got for me? I'm there to help put over this match, your character, all this stuff.
What do you want me to tell them?
What's the key ingredient here, or the key storyline of this match?
Yep.
So that therefore I know what I'm working with, what angle to kind of push during this, so that we can get to the crux of the story of the match. So that's one thing I always do, and it actually surprised me a lot of times when interstaters would come in, but I asked them, what do we bill you as? Any notes for the match? Commentary notes. They're explaining to me, and so I'm jotting it down, and they're just like, dude, I've never had anybody ask me this. That's just elementary, isn't it? If you're a commentator, you want to know what you're meant to be calling, what the wrestlers want.
Unless you're doing the commentary as the guy is like, I don't want to know what happens because I want to be able to call everything blind. Which
has happened before, but sometimes that's more instructions. Sometimes more instructions from the actual wrestlers as well, who have gone, Joshy, just fucking call it. If you hear me talking out there and getting vocal, shut up, so they can hear my back, like Kevin Owens style.
Yeah.
I know Chris Basso is a big fan of that. but for the most part, like just sort of do.
Yeah, because I know there are certain commentators who do like to do that because they get more invested in the match if they don't know what's going to happen in their mind. So I can respect that, but as you say, if you're the commentator who has the run sheet there in front of you anyway, and you haven't bothered to ask anybody anything, that's a bit.
It is. It's just slack, you know, and you know, in part one, I was sort of saying how the free reign of AWA is really great, but there's not a lot of control. Well, the thing with Riot City is that the control that is in place and the little details that are there is what made it so good. That's what makes it a cohesive product, you know. And with things like that, you do need those fine details. And even things like the structure of just the show, how we will go out there at the start, and that's the only thing that we really plan on our commentary, besides getting those match notes.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we'll sort of plan out is our intro, our show intro, just so that it's a smooth kickstart to the night, and people don't go, oh, what's this Mickey Mouse operation, you know?
Stepping on each other when somebody's trying to say something, you're like, yeah, what the, oh, shit.
And that happens on commentary all the time, and the other night I got tongue-tied for a bit there. It felt like about 30 seconds I was just, like just stepping over my words. It was probably 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But it felt like
that's commentary hell when that happens.
Oh, it felt like a lifetime. And I felt
live
like,
microphone, you're just like, what? Am I having a stroke? What is happening to me right now?
I'm pretty sure for the next 60 seconds I just sort of shut up and went like, well, I'll let these two do
my career is over.
They actually know what they're doing over here, so I'm going to shut up for a minute, you know, and then get back into it. So you have those moments, but it's important to just get in touch with the talent before the match. It takes 2 minutes. 2 minutes to ask them what they need, put over. Easy, you know?
Go back to the last RCW show, the Rumble. Lightspeed Express.
Yeah.
Right? Now, from what you were telling me, candidly, behind the scenes, that's the first time you'd ever seen those two wrestlers, is that correct?
I'd seen Robbie Eagles on a show before, but the first time in Riot City, first time calling a match of theirs, yeah.
And you wouldn't know it looking at it, because you seem to know who those dudes are and all that. I guess that's because you've done some scouting on them. But what's it like when you do have that? When you're sitting in commentary, you're like, okay, I've never really interacted with these guys. But in Matt's case, you had no interaction with him beforehand. What's it like then to go out there and call that blind and be like, I got no idea what these guys are going to do or how they're going to do it?
Well, luckily they're two guys who've got a definitive style. Very easy to call their matches because boom, bang, boom, move after move, high spot, fast, exciting. But I mean, there's been a lot of times where new folks will come down. I haven't seen them wrestle before, and it's just a matter of, you know, hopping on YouTube, seeing a couple of matches,
getting some of the highlights in,
maybe finding a podcast that they've done and getting an idea of like, okay, this is where they're coming from. And you can kind of get an idea then, gauge of like, what they dig, and therefore sometimes it's easier to call their match simply because you know how they would want it. Kind of, it's hard to explain, you know, but it's just a matter of just getting to know the
once
talent.
you know the person, you know their personality, you know their character, it's very easy to tell their story for them.
Yeah, and I mean, folks out there that will, you know, like young folks out there that will sit there and listen to the new Stone Cold podcast, but a bloke that's, you know, had 10 years in the business in Australia, and that's who you want to be listening to, because at the moment that's
the industry. Yeah,
and at the moment that's what you, I guess, can relate to. That's
where you have to start. Vince isn't going to be funny. If I'm sitting on my couch watching the product, Vince isn't picking up his phone to go, Adam, look, I know how much you love it and how passionate you are. Can you come work for me, goddammit? No, he's not going to do that.
That's it. So as much as I love that call, Vince.
Yeah, get on it. Come on.
It ain't gonna happen. So folks like that, you know, it's just a matter of doing a little research. It's real, especially in the internet age. It's not bloody hard, you know.
No.
But yeah, I know that like it's really cool when folks come down and they're appreciative of the commentary.
Well, it's feedback. It's with any job, you need some sort of feedback from it. And yeah, you get it from the fans, but fans are fans. Like, of course they're going to like you. Getting it from your peers and having them say, dude,
yeah,
thank you.
Oh yeah.
That's the ultimate mark of approval, because it's them saying, yeah, you made me look good. It's the same way you watch wrestlers shake hands with each other backstage after their matches. Yeah. They shake hands, they debrief, they hug, they're like, thanks, brother, yeah, you know.
That's it.
It's awesome. You sit there and you're like, yeah. Like,
thanks for the match, man.
There's moments I want to sneakily just be like hiding a camera under my jacket, just like, yeah, Yeah, we'll film some of that for later because it really is touching, and people just don't get to see how much these guys really do respect each other's opinions and how much that handshake and that like thank you can honestly mean to them.
And so many wrestlers will. And even I feel the same way, that I appreciate if someone pulls me aside and says, I like this, baby, like, what about trying this?
Yeah.
You know, or you can improve on that. I mean, a lot of wrestlers, especially in Australia nowadays, that are getting places, they're the kind of people that almost demand constructive criticism rather than the Barry Horowitz pat on the back, you know, because they know that in the end, if there's something they can improve, that's gonna help their game.
Yeah.
They're gonna put on a better show. They're gonna get booked more, you know. Whereas someone keeps saying, "Hey, you did a great job. Hey, you did a great job. Hey, that was awesome."
You never improve. You gotta have feedback that's constructive. Like if you did something well, yeah, you need to know, dude, nailed it.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're at 80%, they need to go, oh, that one was a bit of a miss, but like you're never gonna hit 100 every time.
Yeah.
So you need to know what you can improve on, but you also need to know if that was the 100, that's now my benchmark.
And in Riot City, there'll be things like the show opening. You know, that was a thing where for ages they'd look at the timer afterwards and go, the opening went for like 7 minutes, or the opening went for 6-8 minutes, and I'm out there like, how did I possibly? How did we? No, that can't be right. And then they'll show you the timer. Armour. It was a fucking 8-minute intro, man. So that was a while ago. Now we've gotten that art down of cutting it down to a concise sort of thing. Same with now, a big thing at Riot City is like we're keeping to time with the shows. Not so much as this segment has to go this amount of time, just knowing that, okay, at intermission we want the clock to be at this time, you know, 8:40 or 8:45 or whatever it is. Because we've got curfew, we've got fans who got to get their last bus home. You obviously want to pack up and be out of there quick.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
All these different things. Armour's got to go and record a bloody podcast, and we're going to be waiting around for him. So the fans, I think, have enjoyed it more. So that extra 5-10 minutes less of a show, I mean, that 5 or 10 minutes can be a big difference sometimes between the show dragging and
that snap punch you want where you're like, yeah, that was good, that was snappy, I like that.
That's it. And they don't want to hear us waffling on for 5-10 minutes. They want the
They
next
want you
match.
done, yeah. They want you there, hype it up, cool, get us screaming, blood pumping.
Ready to right?
Now fuck off so we can see some wrestling.
That's right.
You've seen a lot of wrestlers come and go. And you've seen a lot of wrestlers come and succeed and get further and further. I'm talking Matt Silvers, obviously Buddy Murphy is the NXT. Alright, we've got time for one last topic. So let's get into it. Wrestle Radio Australia.
Yes.
Alright, so you've been doing this for quite a while as well.
3.5 years now.
3.5 years, alright. Let's go. Let's try to tell us the conception to now. Tell us the Wrestle Radio Australia story.
Alright, so as very briefly mentioned in part one, Chris Basso put the idea in my head, said, dude, you should do a podcast, because we'd always be talking about wrestling, listening to wrestling podcasts. And then about just after I'd started ring announcing and doing commentary, Marek from WrestleHustle.com, which was not so much around at the moment. They do the odd Facebook post, but it's really, back then it was a website kind of format.
Yep.
So there'd be WWE coverage, TNA interviews, and then the odd Australian coverage as well. So he came to a show at RC Dub and then hit me up about a month later. Said I was at the RC Dub show. Came down from New South Wales to see it and said, do you want to do a podcast for us? Now, at the time they'd started Wrestle Hustle Radio, there was one episode. They had an interview with, I forget who hosted it even, but they had an interview with Madison Eagles and they had one with Mick Foley as well. So straight away I'm thinking, geez, they've started off with Foley. Like, how do I follow? How do I follow that? And this is 2, 3, 4 months later after episode 1. So the format kind of just, the guys just sort of stopped recording, and there was no show. So I just sort of picked up from there, and I did a little demo. 3 in the morning on my HTC phone.
Nice.
With a little script. And WrestleMania is in a week, so let's do a little WrestleMania preview. That episode is no longer online. So we did that demo, and then okay, see how we go with this. And of course, sound editing, I was no good, so I didn't know what I was doing. You know, And then, because I knew I needed somebody to kind of do the show with me, and all the shows that I listen to that I like, it's generally two people at least, with that back and forth kind of banter. Unless you're doing a short form podcast that's 5 to 10 minutes, one voice can get a bit monotonous is the word. So great minds. So the next step to that was Todd Eastman lining up an interview with Matt Silver, now Buddy Murphy, and this was a couple of weeks, I think, before his final match in Oz, which was against Adam Brooks in Melbourne City Wrestling. So Matt did the interview with Todd, or Todd did the interview with Matt rather, and it was a little short, little 15-20 minute sort of deal there. It was really good though. Yeah. So I don't think Matt had done a podcast interview as such until then. So we kind of felt like we had the scoop, you know what I mean? Nice. But from then on, it was just like, well, we've got something here, we've got a show, we've got something we can run with, yeah. So those early days, it was me and Todd sitting there either on Skype or on, sitting there at his place with the phone on the coffee table, hit record on the iPhone and just talk about WWE and TNA and me whinging about what I didn't like in TNA, and then we'd cover a bit of the Aussie stuff, and we were trying to do, Todd loves talking about the WWE stuff and all that, and talking about that stuff as a fan, which I do too, but there's a million podcasts out there that talk about the same shit every week, and even I would listen back to the shows that we did, and I felt like I was channeling what I'd heard on the shows that I do enjoy, like the shows with Brian Alvarez and Meltzer. I'd without really knowing it, I would be regurgitating,
just giving their opinions back.
These ideas which I thought in my mind was how I thought. So after about a few months of Wrestle Hustle Radio, kind of stopped with Wrestle Hustle. It was just sort of that thing of like, I want to branch out,
step away from this for good,
rebrand it and have it be our thing. Because I appreciate everything that Marek did for us as far as with imaging and with graphics and promoting the shows, but we putting in the majority of the work. And I felt like it's got to be our baby. It's got to be my baby. If I'm sitting there and curating the guest list and sitting there producing it up and learning all the production side of things, which I had no clue on. But I want the show to sound as good as other shows that I listen to. I don't want it to sound crap, Because
there's so much baby testing that goes into that people don't realise. Man.
And if I hear a show these days that sounds really bad, I'll turn it off. And I probably won't listen again. So
I'm like having videos as well.
So rebranded it as Wrestle Radio Australia. I wanted to actually just go with Wrestle Radio, but there was a community radio show in Perth that used to cover all action wrestling. And
it's called Wrestle Radio.
Wrestle Radio. So I thought, well, the end goal is to promote wrestling in Australia and what we're doing. So Wrestle Radio Australia, done, sorted. And of course,
it sounds authoritative as well.
It kind of has a bit of that officialness.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That journalistic, where you're just like, this sounds like the newspaper I go to. I want to hear about it. I go to Wrestle Radio Australia because that's, it's like the Australian newspaper. You go, well, that must be if that's the Australian, that must be the newspaper.
The service I was using was terrible, and so of course I had to change services. That meant we lost all of our subscribers on the original feed because they wouldn't just transfer it and redirect it. They won't. If you're not going to give us your money, we don't want to help you out in the slightest by redirecting your RSS feed. So started a new feed, and then that was when we did a few shows covering the Fed and all that, Raw and stuff. But for the most part, I was like, that's when I stopped watching TNA, and that's when Raw was getting, the 3-hour Raw was just getting ridiculous, to the point where, this week I played the game of how long can I get through this show? How much of Raw can I sit through before I turn it off?
The wrong way.
And to 5 minutes, I'm like, they're talking, cool. 10 minutes, they're talking. 16 minutes, they're still fucking talking.
Yeah, man. Welcome to 3-hour Raws.
So I just like skipped through. I think I watched like one match and that was it. But
SmackDown's where it's at.
But that whole thing of like, I have to watch the show so I can record this free podcast.
You hate watching it at that point. You're just like, fuck.
It was, and it was at the point where like Toddy would be talking about stuff and then he'd throw to me and get my opinion on it and I'd say this or that and he's like, but you're not even fucking watching it. Yeah. Like, what is the point of doing this? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly,
this is just a waste of everybody's time. So
reformat?
Kind of. It was just sort of that thing of let's focus on wrestling in Australia.
Yep.
There's other shows out there that have covered it. Like there was DCW and there was BAM and there was Covering the Canvas, which was on, I forget the frequency, but it was on community radio in Melbourne, hosted by Jesse and Steve over there and a heap of the guys. So there's been those shows drawing heat now in WA, D&T podcast. They're doing some cool interviews, but then like there weren't really shows out there that were plugging the national scene. You know, like
yep.
It was a lot of like Covering the Canvas was mostly Victorian talent because they're in Victoria.
Yeah.
And it was done in a radio studio, so they got to get them in, you know. So it was, let's get the Victorian talent, which was great to listen to, but
it's limited if you can't ever see it.
Yeah, and so I thought, well, we've got the benefit at least of being backstage at shows, and
you've got Skype phone. Now that I've got actual proper podcasting equipment besides just a USB microphone that might sound like it's studio quality, but come on, Joshy, we can do better than that. So I've done that, and now it's a lot easier to, if I want to record a phone call tonight for a podcast, bang, I can plug my phone in and do it. Whereas before, it was that thing of, I've got to tell this person how to use like the Google Hangouts on air app, you know what I mean? And then it's, they're not getting through. Oh, it's right, you've got to download this plugin. So download this plugin and restart, and then I'll call you back in about 10 minutes. And then we try it again, and sure enough, it sounds... So just all that nerdy shit that I might know my head around now, but the guest shouldn't have to worry about that. Yeah, you just bring them in, put a mic on them and go...
Like we do here, exactly. We come in, how's it going, sit down, bang, cameras are on, Adrian is here to help direct, produce, whatever, off we go.
Exactly.
But all up, I mean, we've had, I'd say about 150 episodes all up, and on the current feed, you know, the current network we have running, I guess, about just over 100 now. What? So
where's the future going to take you, do you think?
As far as Wrestle Radio?
Yeah.
I really just want more people to hear it. And it's, you know, there's that cynicism that creeps in, which I've probably mentioned to you. I probably mentioned it to you 5 minutes before we went on the air, and that was that, you know, folks want to hear like the Chris Jericho podcasts and the big names, you know. Or hey, when those shows started, so was I listening, you know, religiously. But for the people in Australia that are fans of the independent wrestling circuit...
If you're a fan of Elliot Sexton, you want to hear Elliot Sexton, you don't want to hear the Big Show.
Yeah.
That's no knock on the Big Show, that's just literally saying, well, I want to hear Sexton's thoughts on the industry at the moment. Or Rocky Monero, or Grimm, or Chris Bass, or whoever it is, you want to hear them.
And it comes back to that thing of, like I was saying before, about how if you're especially a young talent, you want to know your surroundings, you want to know who your peers basically are, who the people are that when you go to your first interstate show and you're backstage and you don't know anybody. Oh shit! Well, I've heard Sid on Muhammad Ali Vaez podcast, Healing Out, on the Wrestle Radio Australia network. I've heard Sid. He sounds like a really cool, laid back guy. Yeah, maybe I can hit him up for feedback.
Yeah.
Or Muhammad Ali Vaez, because we got the beauty of Wrestle Radio now, Wrestle Radio Australia now, is that thanks to Wrestle Merch Printing sponsoring us, we've been able to, I guess, have a little bit extra data out there each month, which means that we can have not just my show and Todd's show, where we do the Wrestle Radio Australia, just the normal interviews, you know. You got Muhammad Ali Vaez, with his show Healing Out, which at the moment he's in the process of moving house, and I don't think he's going to even have internet connectivity for the next several weeks. So he's on a bit of a podding hiatus. There's these, you know, the vlogs and the podcasts are just an extra way for the talents to get themselves out there, and that's where we can be a facilitator for them. You know, that if whether it's the Maniac or whether it's Alex Shepherd, you know, sitting there with Toddy and Todd can then introduce people to Alex.
Exactly.
Before they, or even after they've seen him, you know, in the ring at RCW or AWA or wherever it is. It's the main reason I started doing it was to promote wrestling in Australia, and if we keep doing that, that's great. But it's also a place for these wrestlers and these commentators, and we've had photographers on, and Brian Alvarez from F4W Wrestling Observer. He's my podcasting god. So to wake up at 5 in the morning, smash a coffee, and then go, I'm talking to Chico.
Yeah, man.
That was amazing. The amount of editing I had to do on that due to Skype stuff ups though.
Oh, Skype is a bastard to work with.
Put it this way, if it wasn't Chico, I would have said, you know what, fuck this, we'll just record it again. But he was on such a tight schedule. He's like, I'm doing this promotional interview and that promotional interview, and then I've got to do my own radio show, and then I've got to teach jiu-jitsu class, and then I've got to go and host my other show with Dave and all this stuff, you know. So it was just like once in a lifetime shot, you know. So
do what you got to do.
But that was great. You know what I mean? I feel like we're doing our bit by getting it out there to those people who still think the only way they can see wrestling here is once a year when
the WWE tours.
When they come to the entertainment centre, you know, and they see John Cena. Like, it's amazing how many people have no idea. So that we can do that and also give these talents just a platform to tell their stories, to have a laugh. You know, it's just... I always loved radio when I was a kid. And being a big D-Gen fan, so like your Martin Malloys and The Late Show and Frontline, that Australian kind of humour. Well, with the Martin Malloy radio shows and then Tony Martin doing Get This, big fan of that sort of thing.
That vibe, yeah.
So with Butts in Seats, I can be a little bit more creative as far as that sort of style goes, you know. But I mean, just the freedom of podcasting now is amazing. Lately, the shows, at least the ones that I've been doing, and even the ones with Todd, Sean Fuster joins us occasionally to co-host, but it's turned more into conversations.
Yeah.
Then it all started off really as interviews. So if I'd be interviewing Damien Slater on Skype, and we've got 45 minutes. Well, I know a fair bit about him because he was like the first indie wrestler in Australia that I gravitated towards as a fan. But I still want this to go smoothly. Yeah. So I'm going to write out my questions. I'm going to make sure I have 10 questions and then have a couple of fallback things in case we've still got extra time. And I'd be so, like, just particular about things like that. Whereas now, you know, if you have a couple of subjects you want to bring up,
yeah,
that's pretty much all I need, because I prefer the conversational
That's more real, your
nature.
You relate your emotion with it.
That's it. And when it is more conversational, I find, and it's just two dudes kind of hanging out, people are a lot more loose. Your guests are a lot looser.
Well, it's easier. It's easier to bring out of them, to let them... They know they're safe then, if they're just allowed to be themselves.
That's it. Whereas sometimes, I mean, I don't blame if, you know, someone's like just shoving a mic like right in your face and going...
Exactly. What do you think about this? You got 5 seconds to answer me.
You started wrestling here and now you're doing this, and what's your 5-year plan? I don't have a 10-minute plan.
Exactly. Shit. I just came out of the bathroom. Fuck off.
My plan's to go get dinner after this. I don't know what I'm doing bloody tomorrow, let alone 5 years. So, you know, just like the loose nature now of the shows, and taking the filters off. So there's cursing and there's, you know, we have a laugh on there, but I mean, that's life. That's
more real.
That's how you would interact.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and especially backstage, everyone's just wants to...
Well, you're almost giving the fans a peek behind the curtain with that.
Kind of, yeah.
Because that is what the humour is like behind the curtain.
Yeah, because everyone wants to just stay loose and be kind of carefree like until the match is over. And then once their match or their spot or their segment or whatever is over, then they're even more loose.
Yeah, exactly.
So after a show, just for any podcasters out there that want to interview wrestlers backstage, get them after the show, because a couple of beers in them and the stress of the show being over, it'll be so much fun. But sometimes it's time permits you to, what you've got now before the show, because after the show they may have to leave straight away, for whatever reason. So,
but still, it's good advice to get them afterwards so they're at the most loose.
Yeah, loosen them up with alcohol. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
There you go, fight for the pros right there.
But yeah, Wrestle Radio Australia. I mean, that's my,
that's your baby.
With it, without Todd being there and the folks at FNX.network now who are really helping us along, and fingers crossed there'll be some FNX merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees soon. Which, if we can shift enough units there, that'll mean that there will be Wrestle Radio Australia merchandise. So buy those FNX shirts when they do go online. Just the help that they've given us, as far as having a home.
Yep.
We can call FNX.network our home, and I want it to be known as the Aussie wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
So that when people think, well, geez, I want to hear an interview with this bloke, or
they see a match and they go, I wonder if I can find out more about that bloke. They go to Wrestle Radio Australia, scroll through the back feed and go, oh, there it is, boom, Damien Slater. Yeah. Cool, let's see how Josh said to it.
Yeah, and then that's the goal, is to get in the ears of every wrestling fan in Australia. Because if they don't know about our indie scene, after they hear our show, they'll bloody well know about it. And I know that the wrestling podcast scene is, even as many wrestling podcasts as there are, and as many listeners of those that there are, it's still, I realise that it's a niche topic within a niche topic, so it's probably going to take even still a couple more years to grow it.
But it's doable.
But that's it. So
why don't you tell everybody where they can find all their Wrestle Radio Australia?
Well, you can find it on fnx.network. As soon as the shows are uploaded, Ryan gets them up there onto the website. Subscribe on iTunes or TuneIn Radio or Stitcher. It's free. There's no paywalls. I'd like to go down the road one day of premium content, but that's a long way.
Yeah, that's when you get your fan base built up.
That's when, if it ever got to the level of Patreon and those sort of things, one day that'd be awesome. But for now, it's all free. And, subscribe on iTunes. If you do, please leave a rating and a review, because that's how we get bumped up, with musicians. It's record sales, or it's iTunes buys, or it's Spotify listens. With podcasters, it's reviews and ratings on the app.
Yep.
Because the algorithms and that's it. More people are talking about it, the more it just kind of creeps up there in the consciousness and in the listings. So I'm rambling on, but we'd love a rating and a review. And
what about RCW? Where's the next RCW? Is the Key to the City?
Yes, that's our next big show, which is October 22nd at the Latvian Hall. So Key to the City, 4-way ladder match for the key. Winner gets to unlock a title shot whenever, wherever, over the next 12 months. And I think the show before that is RCW Live at the Academy, October 8th. October 8th, that one is. And tickets for those are about $10. But there's only about 100 odd tickets available, because it's a rather limited, sort of intimate setting at our academy. So we'd love to see you there. And Australian Wrestling All-Stars is, this Saturday at the time of recording, but then we've also got, I think, episode 5.
The grand final.
Yeah.
Yep, the grand final is on October 15th.
15th, there we go. Thank you for filling in, because I completely lost the date there. It was gone. So
that's the one I need to know. Where I need to be with my cameras on that one.
Oh man, so
so we'll still be able to catch you at all those events, which is absolutely amazing. And of course, every week on Wrestle Radio Australia.
That's a tongue twister there, almost got you.
Every time, man, my brain is trying not to say, I hear the acronym, my brain goes Raw, and then I'm trying so hard not to say Raw that I'm like, no man, it starts with a W. Shut up, W.
We're out almost every week. Sometimes we do have the off week, but I don't think, in the 3.5 years we've been doing Wrestle Radio Australia, I think the longest we've gone without a show is maybe 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Just because life gets in the way
That happens sometimes.
But
now with more hosts and more shows and more content,
and those roundtable chats where I can get a couple of the crew on the line and we can just shoot the breeze and hear how much Ali hates signing autographs for unappreciative wankers. I hope you're watching.
Ali or the unappreciative wankers?
Both. Ali, spread the word, brother. Help me out.
Well, on that note, Josh, thank you once again. It's been a pleasure. And
and also on Twitter, you can find me at JoshJD Armour and the Wrestle Radio Australia podcast at Wrestle Radio AU. Got to get the Twitter plug in.
You've got to absolutely make sure to sign up for those. And I'm sure in the future there'll be part 3 of this. Probably next year, I would say, when we do all our next season of stuff. Part 3 with Josh.
Can I get in that chair? And
Yeah, sure. We'll do a swap around. Why not?
All right, a word with Josh coming soon.
You've heard it here first. But for now, I've been Adam Gerard. He's been Josh Armour. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.